The Newton Zoning Board of Adjustments called a meeting for 7 p.m. on February 2nd, 2023.
February 1st.
Excuse me, February 1st, I'm sorry. Jim, would you do a roll call attendance, please?
Mr. Kozec?
Here.
Mr. Hamill?
Present.
Mr. Sylvia?
Here.
Mr. Gibbs?
Here.
Ms. McCarthy?
Here.
Ms. White?
Here.
Ms. Reardon?
Here.
All present, correct.
Please stand for pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have one preliminary review. And as just to kind of go over the groundwork for a preliminary review, the board members should be looking for stuff that we might need, stuff that's missing, no public comments, and those are the restrictions that we have. We don't go into real depth. Okay. Jim, would you like to read the CARD's request, please?
Okay, this is a continuation of Jeffery Card of Newton, New Hampshire's request for an equitable waiver or variance in relief of Ordinance Roman numeral 11, Non-Conforming Lots, Structures and Uses, Section 3, Expansion of Non-Conforming Structure for their proposed property at 1A Wilds Grove Road. The property is referenced as Tax Map 2, Block 3, Lot 35-1.
Jim, the board must decide if the CARDs need an equitable waiver or a variance, something we'll get into later on. Do you have someone would like to stand up and talk about the project? Give your name, sir.
Vernon Dingman, BWD Consulting. As the CARDs initiated last month and so forth, what's come to light is after the initial approval of the board to change the location of the original structure, which was actually encroaching over the property line, working with their architect and so forth, it's come down to that the house that was taken down because it was structurally not movable was essentially a little bit smaller than what they truly needed. So essentially the original structure was a 22 by 26. They would like to propose a 26 by 28, so 4 feet wider and 2 feet longer than the original structure. The plan that I've prepared and with the footings and everything else that have been initialized out there, basically we're still holding the approved 5 feet off the sideline to eliminate the encroachment and the back line of the existing structure so that we're not getting any closer to wetlands or anything else, which then puts the house 4 feet closer to the street, essentially. So I made the notation of all the setbacks from the closest corners of the proposed 26 by 28 structure is before you, per the plan that I dropped off to Jim last week. So, so that's essentially it. Basically, you have a slight increase in the overall footprint, with still maintaining the existing approved setbacks as far as not any closer to the side lot line that was the encroaching side line originally, and no closer to the rear lot line, which is where the wetlands are. Because technically the lake is across the street, across the next lot and everything, you know. The lake essentially is almost 190 feet away, so. So that's pretty much what they're seeking to do, is just to make the house a little bit bigger and a little more livable.
Any of the members have some questions for preliminary?
Mr. Chair, there was a site walk, and
yes, yeah,
Mr.
everybody.
Sylvia can probably.
I wasn't able to attend the site walk because I ended up having to work at the transfer station. Any comments to For anybody that took this,
I found the site walk to be very illuminating because from looking at the plans originally that you came in with last month, I had a vision of what was there. And then when I got there, it really changed my outlook on the whole project.
I agree.
on the positive side, I take it, Roger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you look at a piece of paper, you look at a typical footing foundation, you know, as a level plane, and this definitely was not the case.
No, there's quite a bit of topography to the property.
Correct, and then to see the juxtaposition against the structures in real life versus this paper was.
Are there any other comments? Ms. Reardon, did you go on the sidewalk?
I did go, and I must admit that I didn't understand everything. And, you know, there was cement poured on the ground and they measured it and it was bigger than the plan.
Mm-hmm.
Footings are.
Yeah.
They have to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the issue is.
Yes.
That the footings were not in what was approved prior.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And just for Mr. Gibbs and Ms. McCarthy, because of the slope, and Mr. Gibbs, I'm sure you're familiar with foundations pretty well. So the footing at the front, if you're looking at the plan towards the street side of the property, is at an elevation, and it starts to come down towards the shoreline, and there's approximately a 5-foot drop in that footing.
Yeah.
A change in elevation where then it continues. So initially, when we were talking with the Cards last meeting, looking at a plan, I was like, well, this is a simple fix. 2 of the sides are easily reused, and you know what I mean? And depending on what it is, probably just butt up to the footing, and you might still land on the footing. So I think the site walk it's a lot more elaborate than
Right.
your typical footing and fix might be.
Is Barbara still on?
Yeah.
Barbara, did you do this, were you participating in the site walk?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, yes. Yes, I thought it was very informative. It didn't look, as Mr. Hamill said, I found it to be much different than looking at the piece of paper when you actually were looking at what's going on. So I do understand what they want to do, and I see just where things are placed right now. So, but I think, as an aside, I think Ms. Reardon does not have her microphone on because I couldn't hear anything she was saying.
You're right, sorry.
Thank you. That's it. Okay, so that was all my observation.
Okay, thank you. Are there any more comments before we move this thing forward for next month? Any more questions, anything we might need?
Well, I think the only question in terms of, you know, do we do it with an equitable waiver or do we do it with variances, is the criteria for the equitable waiver, which is, you know, how was the inconsistency discovered?
Yeah. How was it discovered? Is there a question?
I don't know, that would be a question that, I didn't apply for the building permits or anything,
Okay.
so I've been doing shoreline septic approvals, those type of physical state permitting and so forth. I think that it was discovered during your building permit procedure, right?
Was it the contractor that submitted the application for a building permit?
Yep.
Okay.
I brought this to the town's attention before the walls actually went up. I just put a stop on what was happening. because as we were going through the plans, we met with an architect, and I was told by him and led to believe that even though we were changing the physical size, it wasn't too much, and I was led to believe that that would be acceptable with a I forget what you call it, a survey, right? If the survey said, bottom line, I was incorrect, and that's why we're here. So that's when I
That's how I
discovered it.
Okay,
You know,
all right.
after we had come up with the plans per length of wood, actually was 26 by 28, was better than the original size.
Yeah, right? We should sort of decide now to instruct them which way to go.
Yes, I agree, yeah. Do we have any more questions for the applicant right now, or you want to just discuss the, which way we're going to go for next month? I'll let them stay so we can, at least if we have any more questions.
The only thing that I have, just with the barrage of plans at our access, is I have a little bit of an issue with the latest set not being stamped, and then the revision from 10/28/22 being removed from this set. And again, I'm just a kind of a stickler for, so this was the set that came in with the application.
Yeah, and then this is
With the revisions.
this is a stamp.
Current set that's in front of us in our packet this week with no stamp, and then this revision is changed. So I know it's probably pretty trivial, but as a guy that looks at plans all day,
Yeah.
just to keep things clean,
Yeah.
that's my, so I, if we hear on it, I would like to see this revision incorporated here, and I would like to see it stamped.
Okay.
Just to make it clean, and we don't get into something where the cars have 4 different plans and they grab the wrong one and end up back in front of us.
Yeah, okay.
Question, is this on a slab or a cellar? Does it have a cellar on this house, or is it on a slab?
No, it'll be a full cellar.
It would be full cellar.
Well, because this plan doesn't give you any heights.
No, well, that was one of the things, it was relayed to me that you were looking, the board was looking for offset dimensional. In other words, not vertical so much as horizontal, so.
In fact, this was like the third or fourth set of plans that we've had. It was,
Okay, first one that I've seen.
yes. Yeah.
I got a whole stack if you like to.
I just gave mine off to Jim so I wouldn't get
Your packet last
confused.
month had a bunch of plans.
Just sitting there. Thank you.
And that was part of the issue, you know, a lot of the questions that we had for the cars really needed to be answered by somebody a little bit more familiar.
That's right.
Yeah, and the only reason I bring up that is
Same one.
what gets attached to this.
No, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, Jim asking for 8 copies of something showing
Absolutely.
Yeah.
horizontal dimensional information.
Yep.
And being a preliminary meeting that, like,
Sure.
plotted them off, ran them over right away. Expecting, like any board meeting I go to, that, you know, there's going to be requests, especially at a preliminary meeting, for additional information to be added to a final plan. So
Yeah.
I have no problem adding the data that you're requesting. So.
And we have to discuss whether we do it equitable or a variance.
I would be comfortable at this point going either way.
Okay. And you were saying earlier, John, that you thought an equitable would be the way to go.
Yeah, we kind of, by the definition and what encompasses it most, the simpler, cleaner seem to be equitable,
So none of
rather than having a list, because then we need to make sure that we capture every variance.
Yeah, it might be easier to do it with it as an equitable.
Yeah, just a little bit cleaner.
Barbara, do you have a feeling, Barbara, about whether it should be a variance or an equitable waiver?
I believe it should be an equitable waiver of dimensional requirements also.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Anybody else want to make a comment of which way we should go?
I agree with that.
It seems to be the majority right now that says it's equitable. So, someone want to make a motion that we're going to address the card request and giving it. We will be working on an equitable waiver. I'm not sure you want to wear that as a.
I think I've exceeded my motions.
Well, I can see Miss Reardon
that a
down there.
motion,
She had a
Mr.
lot of
Silva?
experience from last month. Didn't she have a lot of experience from last month?
Yeah, but she's not a voting member.
That's right. She's
I'm not a
I'm
voting
sorry.
member this
Okay,
evening.
I'll make the motion to move this to a public hearing on the 1st of March for the equitable waiver of the card.
Oh, okay, you're wrapping it all into one.
Yes. Yeah.
That's perfectly okay.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye,
Mr. Gibbs,
Aye.
Mr. Hamel,
aye.
Mr. Sylvia,
Aye.
Mr. Kozak,
Aye.
Ms. McCarthy.
Aye.
Okay.
You don't
That's
have to do
unanimous.
roll calls. There's no voting member on Zoom.
Except for the fact that,
It's easier for your minutes.
yes,
After the minutes he's had to type off the last couple of
I know,
months.
no kidding.
I'm happy to oblige.
thank you.
So
You want to move
we'll
the,
add that additional data, get you 8 more copies
Yeah.
for the next meeting.
yeah.
Very good. Thank you
I
for
mean,
your time.
I'm fine with sharing for Jack.
Well, actually, unless anybody really needs it, we just need one for the file.
Unless Mr. Gibbs wants to see elevations. Yeah, so I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as it,
Yeah, 'cause
I would say
that is,
just one for the file and one to cross-reference
yeah.
against.
So 2 copies, yeah.
That's fine.
yeah, because
Paper?
you're not going to change anything other than the
Right.
Well, and then
block.
there's a
It's minor,
date
but I
also,
mean,
right?
whether the
Yeah,
board
let's
wants
get the
a
revisions
copy
out.
each or whatever, I have no
The
problem.
revision date and the stamp.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
yeah,
I don't need another piece of paper for that.
okay, no, the trees appreciate it. So. Very good, see you next month, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we move to approve to take the applicant to a public hearing? Do we have to do that? I guess we do. No,
That's what he
Roger
just
did it
did.
in his thing,
Yeah.
so we're all set, okay.
Yeah, he did, that's
Yeah,
what Jim was
that's
saying.
right,
we did
okay.
it all in one.
That's correct, okay.
Could have wrapped it up, making it
Yeah.
nice and clean.
Okay, okay, acceptance of minutes of 1/4/23. Anybody have any corrections or comments other than Roger?
First, we need a motion.
I'll make the motion to accept the meeting minutes
Accept
from
1/4.
1/4/23.
A second.
Are there any corrections?
I want to thank Ms. Reardon for spotting, I had some numbers that were off.
That's great.
And Mr. Hamel led me to go in and do a certain amount of editing of, during public hearings, I don't, especially with certain applicants, want to remove any words that were said by them or their agents, but I did go in and take out as many of the redundancies as I could find. It only saved about an inch on page 57. But the reason that they are that intense is if they go to court,
That's what they're
you
gonna
never
look at.
want the court to look at you and go, these minutes do not paint a very good picture. If you remember with a certain applicant, you went to court and it cost the town $1,800 to do a transcript. Everything, not public hearing, it's, you know, I get rid of all the Michigas and just keep the substance. But for public hearings, and I have to do it for everybody.
Okay. Are there any changes or want to poll the board, Jim?
Mr. Gibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Hamel?
All right,
Mr. Sylvia?
Aye.
Mr. Kozak?
Aye.
Ms. McCarthy?
Aye.
And by the way, if anybody wants a paper copy of that,
All 57 pages? No.
I was just going to say, you can
Print it out on your own.
Acceptance of minutes of 1/7/23. Move to approve the minutes with the following corrections. Are there any corrections?
Mr. Hamel, was that you?
what?
On the sidewalk?
I just heard somebody say, I moved to,
He did,
I-
Jack did.
he's reading, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I assume that Jack made the motion.
Yes.
And I'll
Yeah.
second.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. There any corrections? God, Roger's been very quiet tonight.
contrary to the previous set of minutes, this one takes like 2 inches of paper.
Right, right.
You couldn't find anything, Roger?
Come on, Roger.
Good.
Mr. Gibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Hamel?
All right,
Mr. Sylvia?
Aye.
Mr. Kozak?
Aye.
Ms. McCarthy?
Aye.
Okay. The ZBA Escrow manifest.
In the amount of $18.34.
$0.34.
I didn't see one.
Yeah, I don't think you gave out the copies of the manifest.
I didn't see
I
it.
just signed that one that you gave me, and
I'm sorry, I thought I sent it out on Monday.
does anybody need a copy of it's $18?
Before I vote, I at least like to see it.
I will go and get it.
Convenient
I
that it's
apologize.
paid
I
to the
could've
town
sworn.
administrator.
Because I scanned it on Monday, I thought I emailed it to everybody.
I didn't remember seeing it.
I don't remember seeing it.
I didn't get it.
He didn't.
Yeah.
I signed it, but he didn't.
I mean, if it's $18,
Right, right. Oh, goodness.
For $1.50, you don't get too much.
I know, right?
Well, it sounds like that walkthrough really opened eyes to everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I sent the pictures to Jim.
Yeah.
If I'm sure Jim can share them if anybody would like to see the pictures.
I know the lot because I've walked it with conservation, so I kind of knew what was going on. I just didn't see the pilings
Yeah.
in the foundation.
Yeah, because like I said, my initial gut was say, all right, we'll keep this corner.
What'd you do?
You know, infill this, and depending on what it was, how deep, how wide the footings were,
The notice of
it might have
decision
fallen
needed to
on
be
the
hand
existing footing of
delivered.
one of them. You might
okay,
have
fine.
to move one.
True, true. Thank you, dear.
But
Johnson Beach. Want to see it, Mary?
Oh, I can't vote, so I,
You can still know.
Yeah, you can
still
still
look
make
at it.
comments.
I
yeah.
apologize. If people would like, I scanned it in.
Boy.
Oh, I know what it was. I apologize. I just realized what happened. When I scanned it in, I tried taking the slip and scanning that, and it jammed in the machine.
Oh,
Okay. And I can't even check your math.
geez, you need to give Roger something to do with.
I can't check your math because you just have the total for the mileage. But, so,
How
so
many-
Jack, did you make a motion to pay
Yes,
that?
it's all set. Yeah, it's been seconded.
You seconded it, okay.
And could you poll the board, dear?
Who made the motion?
John.
I seconded.
Okay. Mr. Gibbs?
Aye.
Mr. Hamel?
All right,
Mr. Sylvia?
Aye.
Mr. Kozak?
Aye.
Ms. McCarthy?
Aye.
Adjourn the meeting at 7:25 PM. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Used to getting out
Good night,
this early.
Barbara.